37 Disney Street, which isn't far from you, 3 Disney fans have watched a film which they will now review.
Hello friends and welcome to 37 Disney Street. It's been over a year since our last show and we're here to talk about Tron. I've gotten 2,415 times smarter since then. I'm Chris Fletcher.
I've got 2,415 times smarter since then. I'm Lucie Rain.
And if you're a user, then everything you've done has been according to a plan. Hello pals, I'm Hugh Rain.
Oh, well, that is absolutely brilliant. Hello, everybody.
We got the same quote. This is why we need to discuss our quote.
Well, normally we do. We're out of practice. Normally we say, "What's your quote? Is it this 2,400?" All right, don't do that one. I'll do this one.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it at all. Possibly it was the only memorable quote of the film. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know.
I think it is. Yeah.
Whoops. Well, we're back anyway. We're back with a classic show for the first time in a very, very long time, and we're going to talk about Tron today, but it's a little bit different. And for those of you in the chat at the moment, you can tell it's different because we're recording this live. It's a bit daunting, I'm not going to lie, because we're going to try and condense this into around about half an hour, but we still have the same stuff to talk about as we've always had to talk about, and I've started to realise just how long these jingles are, and they're going to take away from it all a bit. But also, did you notice we didn't have the big music flash at the start? It didn't swell up again and have a proper ending. I just faded it out because I thought I'm going to save us a minute.
Okay,
is that good?
Yeah, it's fine. It does nicely crescendo, that music.
Right. Yeah. So Hugh, can you remember how we do this?
Well, we break it up into 3 parts. Now, normally with the classics, we looked at animation. So this time we're probably looking at like story, and then when we do live action stuff, we look at visual effects or art direction type of thing. So, and then we look at music and sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we award each of those categories 10 points each between us. So 3 times 3 equals 90. So to get us out of 100%, we're going to get our final 10 points from you. We used to get it from the kids, but we're going to get it from you this time.
That's right. So over the last week, we've had a poll open, and on Twitter, you've been able to go and sign in and follow the link and give us a score out of 10 for the film.
Give us a score.
We've pulled all that information together, so we have an actual score for it, which we'll reveal later in the show. We're also going to get the guys in the chat to give us 3-word reviews. Those of you who've watched the film, when we ask you can post your 3-word reviews into the chat, and we'll read some of those out. I've got a couple myself, actually. I've got 2 3-word reviews. I think I'm going to say that's allowed on this occasion.
I'm going to use a lot more than 3 words.
Oh, yeah. So,
otherwise, this will be a short show.
So I have a quick question for you, Lucie, before we move on to other things. Do you have any history to discuss?
Was I meant to do history?
Well, I don't know. I know that in the past we have done when it's been older films. So if there was some, I didn't want to.
I should have done history for this. This would have been a good and interesting one to look at the developments of. I'll be honest, I didn't.
I think we decided we wouldn't to kind of like
speed it up,
speed things along.
That's what I thought as well. But I didn't want to jump into the story, which is what we'll do in a second, without asking you first.
Lucie's reading my notes and I covered them because I don't. It's a bit embarrassing.
I wasn't reading them. You moved your hand and it's fine.
We spent quite a bit of the day together today, the 3 of us, and managed not to talk about Tron at all.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the story then?
Let's talk about Tron.
So it's time to discuss how the story goes. I know it can't be worse than Oliver and Coke.
That's one for you, Aaron, who has just got through Oliver and Company.
One of the mics is crackling a bit. That's
Lucie's.
Is it constantly? Have you been touching it?
I'm just not allowed.
I'm
not allowed to touch it, and I'm being naughty.
Was she touching it?
Because it crackles.
Did you touch it? Is that why?
It is a loose connection. Yes.
There is a loose connection.
I will probably. I can't remember touching it.
If it keeps happening, let us know.
But I'm going to purchase a new XLR cable this week to replace the old one. Go on then, tell us about the story.
Using Patreon funds that our live listeners contributed.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Well, the story, you'd be forgiven for like the first. It doesn't get off to a strong start, does it? And after like 10 minutes of this, you could be forgiven for going, sorry, what's going on?
Yes, that was where I
yeah.
went. I think there's 3 distinct acts go on here. Like, when I say acts, I mean 3 different stories that seem to chop the film into thirds.
There's a lot of boring talk about master control and people typing onto black screens and saying, like, request access level 6. And you're like, and then they seem to be reacting to it. So then it cuts away into the digital world, and you see this playing out. But then all they're seeing is a bit of text on the screen, and all of a sudden Jeff Bridges is going, oh no, they've got me. And you're like, how did you get that from this bit of text on a screen?
I need to make an observation. I think it was made at. Do we know what year it was made?
1982.
1980. Oh, the same year I was made.
There you are.
So it was made at a time when the general population were not computer literate in any way, and people who were computer literate was seen to have, I don't want to say mystical powers, but it was like it was another level of knowledge that the general public didn't have.
So basically,
And
you could
so
say anything and they believe you.
They could say
on a film.
Garbage. Yeah, they could just use pseudoscience and throw a few things in, and you didn't really have to understand it. What you understood was that stuff was going on that these clever people understood about. Now, the thing is that we're watching at a time when we've got supercomputers in our hands while we're watching the film, and it's not as exciting as I think it will have been at the time. It's not as mystical and magical as it will have been at the time. It's really basic computers, you know.
Here's the thing for me. So I did a bit of reading about it, and the guy who wrote this film saw the games that were being developed, like I think it was Pong or something like that, and he thought, you could actually translate those kind of games to a film. It would work quite well, and that's where the concept came from. And I think that was around 1977, something like that. So it's 5 years in the making, this film. And games like that were quite popular at the time, you know. But my impression of this film, and I have seen it before a long time ago, but my impression of this film was that it was far more adventure than it ended up being, and the whole idea of all these games and stuff, the whole thing's built on these bikes. The whole thing's built on Light Cycle. Is it Light Cycle, the game called? Yeah. So it's marketed on that. They've just built a ride on it, and that takes up 3 or 4 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
It's not a big part of it.
And that was the only bit I'd ever seen was that kind of
the
riding.
games. The two games they do play, like the Light Cycle thing, it's a great game.
Yeah.
It's like Snake.
Like Snake with bikes. But the other game where they're kind of batting that ball back and forth, and not only do they have to either catch it.
I used to have some of those scoops. They're amazing. They're so much fun to play with.
But like when it hits their side of the court, it knocks out one of the rings that they're standing on.
Yeah.
So it's a really good game, that.
Yeah.
Really it's a great game.
For the 2 minutes that it's on the screen.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time...
Where it's... Okay, we are talking stories, so for very briefly, if I can pretend to have understood it. In the real world, there's a guy who did develop some software and then got kicked out of his job, but he is a gamer, and then somebody else is using the software that he developed to do something bad. I'm not clear what that bad thing is.
The software's reached a point of artificial intelligence where it's basically eating up all software, isn't it?
But also he invented those games.
Yeah.
And David Warner's character, who is at his height of villainous roles, having a year earlier played evil in Time Bandits.
Wow.
Yeah.
He has claimed these games as his own, and he's making loads of money. So Jeff Bridges' character, Flynn, wants to go in there and find a file that proves, that he created those games. Is that all he's doing?
Yeah, pretty much.
He wants what's due to him.
Yeah, that's pretty.
But then
much
at the same time, there's this computer that's getting out of control.
Yeah, and he's forcing forcing other programs to play games in a gladiatorial kind of way,
and then if
training them up to play the games.
If they die in the games, they get deleted.
Yeah.
But what got me was when the human person who is a user kind of took the same form as a computer program. This is where I think it's very of its age, because I used to think when I had an Usborne book about how the body worked, and it had like red blood cells were little men marching around.
There was a animated series about it.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
And
I learned a lot.
Your gut was dealt with people pulling levers and stuff like that. Well, I think that some people, because again, the general population don't know how computers work, they kind of think, programs that know how to do things, and they've personified them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it actually makes no sense for them to be personified in a single person like that. And then for a person to go into the computer and take the same form as that person, It's very weird.
And yet,
very weird.
And yet, Lucy, you're saying that this is very old and dated, and we've got supercomputers in our hands. But if you take this in a social networking and your identity being online kind of way, it actually works really, really well.
Well, no, because one of them was called RAM. I don't think that's how RAM works. You know, and another one said that it was an actuary program.
But you had so you had Tron in real life, and you had Tron the program inside the computer as well, and you had the girlfriend who's not the girlfriend. They obviously there's something was going on between the two of them before, but they never explore that. So all these characters who appear in the real world also appear in the computer world as well.
Yeah,
it's a bit muddy.
I mean,
is Tron the hero, or is Flynn isn't he? But Tron is also the hero.
But then he disappears for a massive chunk of it.
Yeah.
It's just such a confused thing. And also, by the way, can we just talk about how seriously it takes itself?
Yes.
Because the only person that doesn't take it seriously is Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Who appears to have not learnt the lines that he's been given.
Exactly.
At all.
There's a bit where just before
he's like Lebowski.
There's a bit just before they drink the water where they're kind of looking out across the land, and he keeps kind of going before he says a line. He does it twice in like succession.
That's exactly.
And I was thinking, is he doing this on purpose? Is that his style, or does he not really know what he's supposed to be saying?
Yeah, I think he genuinely didn't know what he was supposed to be saying.
But that whole bit, once they start on the adventure, like it's like halfway through, and then they start journeying across the land. I love all that stuff. You know, and there's a chase, and you know, there's a mission, and they're traveling on light beams. That's great. It's the pacing at the start, because there's
the first half hour's just dull, isn't
well, there's
it?
no one telling you what's going on, so you just keep seeing characters talking, and because I haven't seen this for 10 years, and the first time I saw it, I was so like in awe of the visuals. I'd never seen anything like it. That and I think the visuals hold up.
They do actually.
That like. I wasn't too bothered, but the second time I thought, oh, hang on, what's going on? What is the story here? And the start is so slow.
I found...
But it's relaxing, though.
I found it more trippy than the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Yeah.
The bit when they're drinking the energy.
Yeah.
And because it's really strange, isn't it? There's suddenly, they're by this lake of energy, water basically, and they take a drink like they've been walking the desert for hours and hours and hours, and they haven't been able to have anything to drink. I guess that's what they were trying to get at, that kind of feel of it. And then with one sip, they were utterly drunk and acted completely and utterly crazy for like 5 seconds, and then they went, right, come on, let's carry on with our journey. And it was gone. But it was like a really wonderful little moment, really funny little moment, and then it just kind of fizzled out, and that was it. There was a lot of that. Everything just felt like it hadn't been fully thought out to me, and it just made it really trippy and really difficult to follow.
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got to say on the story, because we need to be G'ing this along, don't we?
Scoring it as we go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we ready to score this round?
Yes, go on then.
Well, I've got there. It was a muddy start, but it does pick up. And actually, once they start journeying across the land, I'm loving it. So I've given it an 8. I'm only subtracting 2 from like the slow start and the slightly confusing. But once you get into it, it's just a good romp across a digital land, and it looks amazing. So 8 for story, actually.
Hugh, you're tripping, bro. 5.
I found it. I can't understand how something can be entirely slapstick, like the bit when they're trying to climb up the ramp before they go out. That's just weird, because it's blatantly just a block of wood that they're scrambling up, that they could easily just walk up, but they're struggling. All this slapstick stuff going on. Then you've got this. The bad guys take themselves so seriously, like it's genuinely this really serious thing. It's all over the place.
I'm giving it a 7.
It doesn't.
I've changed my mind.
It doesn't know if it's a comedy, if it's like some kind of like serious satire of social existence. It's just so confused. It's a 5. I'm sorry, it is a 5. It's a 5.
I didn't explain myself because I've got hiccups, and I'm trying to talk between my hiccups. But it's just confused and poorly paced. And I think one of the reasons it's poorly paced is, there's the hiccup, is because of they want to get certain visual beats in. There's a really weird sorry, hiccup again. Really weird shot where the kind of
I'll edit them out.
zooming into odd something, And but it just takes a really long time to zoom towards it, and then when you get to it, nothing's really happening. I'm going to stop now.
I'm not going to edit your hiccups out. It would take me forever. Should we talk
Thank
about
you.
animation?
Yes.
Look at the animation you, the characterization you, and don't forget the background and the style. Yeah, man.
We're going to have to change that jingle, aren't we?
I know visual effects. Look at the
Visual
visual effects.
effects.
You. No, it's not going to work. I'll have to find a different one.
Well, as I said before, when I first saw this, I was just like, wow, I'm loving it. I love the aesthetic, but I like not just the digital world aesthetic, but I like the early 80s, the officers and the fashion. It's that really sort of simple early 80s style where, it's not gotten out of hand yet. It's just kind of really simple and everyone looks really cool. And then and again, sticking into the real world, that sort of matte painting of the cubicles in the office.
Yeah.
There's just like a sea of them going back forever. I love all that. So I'm just into it. And then, don't get me started on the digital world, which is just it's a trip, man.
Do you know who the supervisor for special effects was?
I know Bruce Logan was the DOP.
It was Harrison Ellenshaw.
Oh, yeah.
Whom you might know, especially if you've watched the Industrial Light and Magic things recently.
Ah.
He's the one who painted all the fantastic backgrounds in Star Wars
Yes.
that are so seamless you don't even realise it's a painting.
Right.
And I think it shows his attention to detail, how they've done such a good job of making that world where you can't tell where the foreground ends and the background starts. And it is a fusion of CGI, because they did use CGI in this. What they didn't do is CGI in real life together. That hasn't happened yet. I think that was young Sherlock Holmes. I think it was the first time they did that. Wasn't it? Or was that the first CGI character?
Yes,
wasn't it?
character,
That's what it was. So there's some great CGI scenes like the light racer scene, which is absolutely fantastic. But they do such a good job of taking the computerized stuff and the real world stuff and fusing it together, and not quite, but almost for its time, making it feel seamless. I think it's absolutely stunning. Is that world?
I love the fact that they're in black and white. Now, I watched a making of this once, but I've forgotten how they did it. But it's actually more complex than you think.
Filmed in black and white with black backgrounds, apparently.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's quite a lot of work's gone into it.
An awful lot. Yeah. An awful lot.
Yeah.
Of work.
But then I like those what are those things called? Recognizers or something? Those things that chase them around. There's like gates.
See, I don't like those.
But they're so weird looking.
The big M-shaped.
Yeah, it's
They're
like,
the
what
worst
are they?
thing.
No, but I like that because they're
No.
so wacky
I liked everything
and surreal.
except those, and there's a really bad shot. You know when he constructs his ship back together, but it's not quite right, and like a foot falls off, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really work with gravity or physics. It's just kind of a bit
It doesn't
bit
move
goes
naturally at all, does it?
like that.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect, but I too was very impressed with the animation and how not dated it looked, really. And I like the opening sequence has just got little spots that reminded me of that game that we had as kids. It was called Light Up. It's just loads of light bulbs, and you press them to make patterns.
I think the one thing for me is that makes me kind of question it a bit and maybe mark it down a bit. I don't know, but we've already got Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi's coming in another year.
Yeah.
And the striding visual effects in those films, to me feels a lot older in feel. It almost has, at times visually, it almost has a bit of a Doctor Who feel, or like the tone of it. I'm going away from the animation and visual effects a little bit, but the tone of it reminds me of like the Andromeda Strain film, which is
Right.
But it has that real kind of early 70s sci-fi film feel to it, and I think if anything, I feel like it should be more than it is because of some of the other films that are around and some of the special effects that are going on. But it's still pushing boundaries, and you kind of have to remember that all the stuff we've been through with the classics, every single film we're moving forward with this. We're taking strides in this. We're using Xerox now, and now we're introducing CGI, and this is a big part of that. You have films like this, and you don't get films like Lawnmower Man 10 years later.
Yay.
I know, but and to be honest, it doesn't feel like it's made huge leaps and bounds from
No,
this to
no.
Lawnmower Man, does it? But from a CGI point of view, it will have done. And
Emma says, I did love the animation of it. It's the only thing that boosted my score for the film.
it's a bit of a an Avatar, isn't it? In that sense, the visual effects is what carries it as a film. It's not the story. I completely agree with that.
There's a part like once the journey across the land starts where every shot is a masterpiece that you'd like to have on your wall. Every shot is a work of art.
Bold statement, Hugh. Bold statement.
It is though. Like it's just everything's so. All the backgrounds are so crisp and sort of expansive and magical. I love it.
I love the bit when he jumps into the head and then goes.
Oh, except the spinning head, which looks terrible.
I think that's the first CGI face ever made.
Well, if it is, it shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to score it?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Okay, I will go first. So I'm going to give it a 7. I was pleasantly surprised. It is quite good to look at, but there's no denying it. We can't compare this to let me think of a really good CGI. I mean, even like Lord of the Rings. I know we're not meant to, but it's no doubt it's early in its days. I'm going to give it a 7.
It's the first film to have fully CGI scenes in it, and they might not go like with humans in as well. But the way in which they interact and the way they bring them in, to me, is absolutely fantastic. I love the look of it. And I do think it's made big strides, so I'm going to give it an 8.
I'm gonna have to sort of talk this out because I've never seen anything like it, and it's iconic. And the first time I saw it, it blew me away, and I love to just sit and watch it. So for that reason, I've got to give it a 10.
Oh man.
I like it when Lucy gets cross when I score something high.
I'm not cross.
Just disappointed here.
I think you've got very valid points. I'm glad I gave it a 7, not an 8, to balance it out. 'Cause I did toy with an 8. These hiccups are ruining my day.
You have to breathe out and hold it. Music?
Yes. Me so do, so me do, me so do, so me do. We are going to talk about the music hits, rate the songs and score the incidental bits.
It's intense, isn't it?
Yes.
Continually intense.
Pioneer Wendy Carlos. Electronic music pioneer.
Ooh.
Wendy Carlos. She does some other things, I can't remember what. But it sounds otherworldly and creepy.
Yeah.
But then there's also like a cinematic score as well with it.
What I noticed is how often there was no music at all. And this is quite rare for films. But they would do some... there was somebody walking down a corridor and the footsteps...
Oh, the footsteps are so loud.
They were loud, but they weren't like deliberately massively loud. They were just like sound mixing weirdly, and it made me feel uncomfortable. But I think, and even typing, there was a lot of typing in this film, and there wouldn't be music in the background. You just hear.
Some of the sound editing was poor.
Well, was it poor or was it deliberate
No,
to
because
make
some
you
of the audio,
feel
particularly in the early
awkward?
bits, were really difficult to hear and follow. And I imagine it's been digitally remastered since I last watched it. So, but yeah, some of it wasn't great.
I didn't know if they were
distorted.
doing a thing, particularly with the loud set. There was one whole section where I noticed that every sound effect was strangely loud. Every door that opened, every footprint.
It's like watching Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was sort of celebrating. I said that's the best sound production in TV history, and the guy who worked on the sound saw my tweet because it was on in a thread, and he said thanks, but he said it was kind of upsetting for them to have to work that way because they were going against all the laws they'd learned in sound editing and sound production.
Great pride in not doing that, weren't
Yeah,
they?
because suddenly, I'm just talking about Garth Marenghi now, but all of a sudden the microphone will be really intense and all the background sound will just disappear and the footsteps are so loud and every shuffle, every movement. And it was a bit like that in this. But I liked in this, when they were just in... what do you call the digital world in this? Because I was thinking, is that Tron? What's Tron? No, he's Tron. So where are they?
The Matrix.
They're just in the computer.
Mainframe.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just in the computer, and when they're taking steps in there, everything's kind of going bang, 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 and I thought that was great. The little farty noises when they're walking, in the prison cells. I thought it was great.
Yeah, there were some nice little sound effects and things in there. I do think part of the reason I think it took itself too seriously is because of the scoring, though. I think the music is part of what made it feel like it had this serious tone to it.
I could listen to some of this music.
It-
Even the Journey song at the end.
I think if I think about the story, the visuals, and the acting, I think it was the sound that had the biggest impact on me in terms that I did find the film squirmily uncomfortable, but in a way where I thought that's what they were going for. And it was the music and the sound mixing, but it turned it in. It felt like a thriller when it probably wasn't necessarily a thriller, but it felt like a thriller, and I think that's what did it.
Did you not? Do you not think that every time that, like, when the people involved in making this film sit back and watch it, or when they've watched an audience watch it and they look confused, they just sat laughing their heads off at it? I feel like the whole thing is just this big joke that's on us. The whole thing. And that isn't to say it's not an enjoyable film, because it is an enjoyable film, and the music is a big part of that as well. But I feel like there's some people somewhere just laughing at the absurdity of the fact that people love this film.
I love it. I think it's so weird that I enjoyed every moment. I did. Even the slow pace at the start, I was thinking, well, it's true and a bit confusing, but it's relaxing me. Is this?
I never wanted to turn it off.
I'm very aware that part of the reason this film was made was because they could. You know, they were
And they didn't stop to think whether or not they...
It's my favourite quote. I quoted that on Twitter this week.
they were discovering new technology, and so they were using the film as an experiment for things, and you can see that sometimes. And we're going back to art now, but when you say they're all just laughing at, I think the people who made it, they were in it for the process of making it rather than the outcome. That might be the same for the composer and sound designer as well. There was just a lot of experimentation all around.
Yeah.
I'm there for it, man.
Score it?
Yes. Chris?
I've put, wow, it's intense and really old-fashioned, sets the mood, but in a really old Doctor Who kind of way. 5.
I'm gonna go higher. I'm gonna say 6. I think I've given my reasons. It's I think it created a good atmosphere, but there was some weirdnesses about it.
I loved it. And there's very little that detracts for me, so I'm going to give it a 9. It's not perfect, but happily listen to it. It's massively inventive. You've got pioneering electronic musicians, but yet I still find it enjoyable to listen to, and it's got a theatrical score as well with it. It works for me. 9.
Wow.
You heard me.
Now
I think I'm a very critical person. But I'm normally one of the highest... Oh, sorry.
I moved it. I've been told not to move it.
I'm normally one of the
Sorry.
highest scoring people on this show. I think I am.
Yeah, I would say that.
But like, if I love a film, I love it as it should. As my scores show.
Very, very true. Now we're in a position now where we've got
This is
a
not going to
score
be
out of 90, but it's not a score.
This is
out
not
of
going to be a
100.
high scoring film though. Oh, so we're missing 10 points, Chris.
We're missing 10 points, and as we mentioned
What we're going to do?
at the top,
Yeah.
we've been asking Joe Public to give us a score out of 10.
I'm glad we've done it this way, because getting Bonnie to score this and getting her to sit and watch it should have been.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure she'd have liked
Well,
it.
she'd have given it 4 like she did everything else.
Yeah.
Also,
As always, I give it a 4.
the kids are they're a bit more grown up and not quite as cute now. So it's not quite the same as when they used to like muddle over the words and stuff and say really cute little things. They'll be far too reasoned, and they'll probably put us out of a job with the way they talk about things these days.
Yeah.
So, should we find out what? Oh, go on, Lucy. What do you want to
No,
say?
I was going to make a joke and it gone. I couldn't phrase it into a funny way. Continue.
Should we see what the other 10 points are going to be? Okay.
Pass the scores, please.
That's Hugh's new jingle.
Yeah, do you like it? It sounds a bit,
Is that what I've waited all week for?
sounds a bit muffled to me, but
Pass the scores,
I had to
please.
make that by. I was looking around the room thinking I need to sound like I'm chewing, so I scrunched up a post-it note. But when I put it in my mouth, it had a taste on it, like there was like some kind of room spray smell on it. So very strange.
Spray mount.
Yeah.
Play that again. I need to appreciate it.
Pass the scores, please.
So let's pass the scores, please.
Because I'm going to give them to him,
Yeah.
pass them,
Yeah.
but I've also taken all the scores, amalgamated them to get an actual total.
Passed
I've
them.
passed them.
So what do our
6.
they've given it a 6.
6 out of 10 from our listeners this time.
Right. I do have a final score. We should what's it on Rotten Tomatoes?
Well, I tell you what,
That's
right?
what we normally do.
We also do other things as well. So Lucy's going to have a look on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Guys in the chat, if you want to start putting your 3-word reviews in there now, if you've got any.
If anyone's listening, is
Yeah,
anyone still
if
there?
anyone's there. Hugh,
Yes.
do you have a cry factor?
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Really loves it. I don't know why they just can't be together.
Hugh's cry factor.
There's not much to cry about here, and I cry at anything. I didn't get emotional at all.
What
So,
about when Ram died?
I mean, maybe you could get up to a 2 out of 5 teardrops at a push, but it's not an emotional film. So I give it 2 teardrops, which sounds like this.
Very good.
You're saving yourself up because we're going to see Hamilton in December, aren't you?
Oh, God. I'm already embarrassed.
About how much you're going to cry.
Yeah.
In Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it 72%, and the audience gave it a rather scathing 69%. Although we've seen worse.
69's not scathing.
We've seen worse, haven't we?
Well, we've scored it worse.
Have we?
We, between us, have given it 68.
Where's that compared to some of the classics, Hugh? What else is around the 68? on
Around the
your scruffy
68
book?
mark. Let's see here. What have we got? 67, Fun and Fancy Free. 69, The Haunted Mansion. I love please listen to that because there's a bit where Lucy gets exasperated.
Is that the Muppet one?
No.
Oh, no.
no.
Oh.
Eddie Murphy
It's when
one.
I start talking about the music and then I hear Lucy make a noise and I say something like, the music is at times brilliant. And Lucy's going, what? So me and Chris tried to get that score up. Pocahontas was 69. God, that's a low score for Pocahontas, isn't it?
It's got questionable social value as Pocahontas.
Hocus Pocus, 68.
Ooh.
We didn't like it. It
Didn't
was
we?
the first time we'd all
I
watched
still
it.
maintain
And we're like,
68 means we did like it.
well, yeah.
Well, it's basically 7 out of 10, which is like,
Yeah.
it's all right, yeah.
It
Give
is.
it a watch.
They can't all be Muppets Christmas Carol, guys.
Which is our only perfect score.
Now we're going to come to the 3-word reviews in a second, but first off, should we talk about our favourite bits?
Yes.
These are my favorite bits. These are my favorite. These are my favorite bits. What's yours? What's yours? These are my favorite bits.
We get to enjoy Chris's jingles again.
Honestly, half of this show is the jingles now.
Yeah. Well, come on. I think everyone's favourite bit is the same. It's when Dumont spins round in his little console with his big hat on and his big wide shoulders, and he's like, "What?"
What was he?
That's
What
why I
was
like
he?
it. Like when he comes on, you're just like, "This film's great, isn't it?"
I'd actually forgotten about that bit.
So
I'm glad you reminded me.
yeah, so everyone is presume you know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. Yeah,
I
it's just,
agree.
they go and see this guy, and he's just in this big spinny thing, and he looks so weird. He's like just his shoulders poking out. I think it's a shame.
No explanation.
I think it's a shame when you see him like full body later getting tortured, because I like to think he's just some arms and
just
some
it,
shoulders
yeah.
poking out and like leaning forward slightly. Dumont.
You see, my favourite bit was when they were clambering up that piece of wood, that slope, and making a right meal of it to get to the top to look out over the horizon. I just what it is about it, but that really tickled me to that piece.
Yeah.
My favourite bit is when Jeff Bridges is playing computer games at the beginning and they've done a first-person view shot. And so he's doing like these really over-the-top faces of someone who's never played a video game. He's going...
Yeah, and the game he's playing just involves him like, he's supposed to be on like the last level.
And then he finishes and goes...
And he's just shooting this slow-moving thing, and he's missing it at first. And all he has to do is like point the thing upwards. It just doesn't... It's not real. It's not a realistic game, is that at all?
This is where I think he was knowingly dialing it in. He's like, my eye focus is going to be slightly off where it should be here. I'm going to give a really inappropriate reaction to this right now. And I enjoyed it greatly. That was very Garth Marenghi, that bit. Very.
Yeah.
3-word reviews then.
Well, I thought one of them was Emma saying very generous, Hugh, but that's when I scored it an 8, and then I thought, actually, no, it's a 7 for the story.
Emma Sylvester then.
Yeah, Emma says of its time.
Yeah.
John says imaginative, bizarre, fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Emma says that Katia says WTF. Aaron's got couldn't keep watching.
Oh.
Aaron also says Star Wars Holiday Special. Sorry, no, he's talking about something else. What we're saying.
He's just Haunted Mansion, Star Wars.
And Star Wars Christmas Special. Two of my
favourite episodes for Lucy's reactions.
Yeah.
I've written 2 3-word reviews down.
Yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to get 2, but I have. The first one was what is this? But then later on I wrote down Bridges is perfect. I thought he was great in it.
I like Jeff Bridges in this.
There is one other thing, right? Do you know Hugh?
Where's welcome?
Now, is this a trick? Because we were talking about Welker. Is Welker in this?
No, he's not in it. It's his birthday today, so I wanted to press the button.
Now,
I wanted to give him his dues.
Regular listeners will know that Welker, now is Alan Tudyk is now the Alan Welker of the modern era, who's in everything, but Welker, what's he called?
Frank Welker?
Frank Welker. He does all sorts of animal noises throughout Disney film history.
He's an absolute legend.
But it's his birthday today.
It is. He's 77 years young.
And we love him. He's also Scooby-Doo.
He is.
But like so many other characters as well.
He's most of the characters in Scooby-Doo, I think.
Yeah.
So we're just about done, but we need to decide what we're going to review next month now.
Ooh.
So we'd all got a film, hadn't we? Can we all remember what our films were? Because I can't remember.
Mine was Return to Oz.
Return to Oz is Hugh's suggestion.
Mine was. We really need to know that they're on Disney Plus before we promote them, don't we?
Yeah.
Return to Oz is. I'm pretty sure it is.
Mine was going to
Find out
be
now.
Blackbeard's Ghost if it's on Disney Plus.
Oh, I thought you had something else. Did you have something else?
I
You
did.
suggested
changed
Swiss
mine.
Family Robinson and changed
Oh, yeah.
mine for Blackbeard's Ghost, and I said The Reluctant Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys in the chat, if you want to put down which one you'd like it to be, Return to Oz, Reluctant Dragon, Blackbeard's Ghost, and that'll be the one that we review next time.
Oh, can we just check that Blackbeard's Ghost
It
on
is.
before?
It is.
It is. Okay, good.
Good.
They're all on there.
They're all on there. There you go.
Yeah, we should have done that before.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So,
We're
cast your
learning on the
votes.
Cast your votes now. What would your vote be, Hugh?
Well, for mine, Return to
Return
Oz.
to Oz. What would your vote be,
but I'm
Lucy?
also thinking maybe
Blackbeard's
we should do that at Halloween.
I see. My vote would be Return to Oz.
Oh, would it?
Oh yeah, I want to do Return to Oz.
I want to watch Swiss Family Robinson.
I
Oh,
do.
look, they're already voting.
Excellent. I do like the idea of doing The Reluctant Dragon because it isn't a animated classic, but it is animated and it's one of those fusion films like Mary Poppins, kind of. And it's also a studio tour as well. It's just a whole lot of good stuff, and one that we probably should have reviewed at the time, I think. So there we'll see. We'll see.
We've got two.
I'm
We've
not
got 2
gonna,
for Return to Oz, I think.
3.
I'm not going to win, am I?
No, but
Oh no, sorry. Now, what's confusing is people are mentioning Return to Oz more than they're actually voting for it. So Emma says Return to Oz gave me nightmares, but that's not a vote.
no,
She votes for Reluctant Dragon. And Aaron says
Return to Oz.
Blackbeard's Ghost is on Disney Plus. And Aaron also says, but I choose Return to Oz. Okay.
So that's 2 for Return to Oz. I'm a Return to Oz.
It's
you're
all
a Return
right.
to Oz.
Emma says sorry. It's fine.
We need to get a poll up. But please let me win.
Well, I think we've pretty much made a decision. It's going to be Return to Oz, and I'm sorry if you're terrified by it.
No, you can't. Hang on. You can't do that. You can't say it's going to be a vote and then I'll have 2 people. That's like anecdotal evidence. That's like saying, well, the majority of people.
Yes, but
because 2
out
people
of the people
said it.
chatting at the moment, there are 3 of them, and 2 of them have voted for Return to Oz.
Are we doing it instantly? We're not putting it on a poll.
Yeah,
on,
no, we need to make a decision
I
now.
thought we were putting it on a poll on Patreon.
No. Go on, I'll put it on a poll on Patreon then. I'll put it on a poll on Patreon. Oh, that's got a nice ring to it. I think we need to make a jingle of that. Put it on a poll on Patreon, and then we can make a decision. But it's going to be returned to us.
And I am going to spend the next week campaigning for Blackbeard's ghost.
What we'll do, though, guys, is whichever one wins will come off, and we'll pick one extra one to add on to the other two for next time. So we only ever get one new
If
one.
I keep picking amazing ones,
You'll always win.
then it's all me, baby.
Have you got another one to add on? I've already got mine.
Well, I had Swiss Family Robinson in my back pocket, but
that was
but
gonna be
I'm not sure
Which
now.
Swiss Family Robinson, though? Because there's at least 2 films, aren't there?
I don't know. Whichever one it was that made me laugh when he goes down the slide like with his shoulders up. Remember that?
That's the original.
Right, I'm conscious of time, so
Yes.
I'm gonna call this. It's been a blast being back, and we'll be back in a month's time then with Return to Oz once it's been decided that that's what we're doing, but possibly with something else. I also think we ought to consider doing Haunted Mansion, the new film that's just about to come out the cinema,
yes.
because it looks pretty tasty.
Yeah.
But we can decide on that and talk about that later.
When's that coming out?
A couple of weeks, I think.
Is that all?
Yeah, very
I thought
soon.
they just announced like who's playing Madame Leota.
No, I thought it was out nearly out. There's trailers and all sorts for it. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to look into it.
Oh.
Anyway, we'll call an end to this. It's been great being back. And we'll be back with this again in a month or so's time. We're back with the DLP show next week, and back with the extra magic time as well for you Patreon types next week. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.